Welcome to Storytimer at Large. Connie Lorraine Christensen. So just yesterday, I posted a video of the facial recreation on the right there, and someone immediately put in the comments of the video called Unidentified, 1982, Wayne County. That this young lady was identified in 2023. And I had missed that. I hadn't found that. It's difficult to search things like unidentified remains found, or, unidentified remains have been identified, and then match that up with where it was found. You're going to get so many responses on that, so many hits on that. So, but thank goodness for the eagle-eyed person in the comments who said, "Oh, actually, she has been identified," and she has. The larger photo there is what she actually looks like in life. Her name is Connie Lorraine Christensen. And she was found in Wayne County, Indiana. Her body was skeletal by the time they found it. She was found in the crook of a tree that had fallen. So a fallen tree with two big branches that make a Y, and she was found in the crook of that. I had thought that this killer had local knowledge, but now I'm kind of thinking maybe he's local to Indiana, perhaps, but also he could be someone who just has rural knowledge and just knows that a lot of times if you drive around the back roads, the fields, and sometimes you can find a little lane, a little old unused sort of lane, and find it. So he may or may not be local to Indiana. But let's talk about Connie. Connie Lorraine Christensen was born in Wisconsin to Winifred and Neil Christensen. She grew up in Janesville, Wisconsin, and went to high school there. She was a choir member. I've got some photos. When I update my blog post about this, I'll pop those photos in there too. She was neat, yeah. I've noticed as I looked at the two photos today, I've noticed that the nose is short and very round in the recreation and in life, and the cheeks, those high cheekbones with those pronounced cheeks there up on the cheekbone to the left and right of her nose are very similar as in the recreation. And then her eyes, being very almond shaped, is very similar. So I don't, the wig really destroys the whole image of a younger girl, but certain features are very, very spot on. But yeah, I don't think anybody would have ever looked at that recreation and had our girl here, Connie, be called to mind by that. But yeah, so Connie grew up there in Janesville, Wisconsin. She went to high school there. She lived later on in the little town of Oregon, Wisconsin, not far from Janesville, around 1981, 1982. In the spring of 1982, she traveled to visit family in Nashville, Tennessee. She had a 1-year-old daughter, and her family was going to care for her daughter for a while. Maybe Connie was hoping to get back to work in order to get on her feet financially. One article mentioned that Connie might have been in the early months of pregnancy again. Did she travel to Tennessee with someone? If so, who was that? If she was traveling alone, then was she driving? Where did her car end up? Or was she hitchhiking? Was she still in a relationship? And who was that man? I'm hoping that evidence was preserved by Wayne County in her case. Has it been tested for the presence of DNA other than Connie's on the clothing? Is Connie Christensen's murder being actively investigated right now? Since she was still in the ISP cold case site as unidentified, then we can assume they're working on it, even if they did not get a chance or funding to update their website. They're likely still working on this murder case. Whoever put Connie in the woods knew a bit about farms and farmland, it seems to me. They likely looked for a wooded place. They likely knew that sometimes there are little old roads near fields. It was springtime, and that lane might have been easier to see without the heavier summer foliage that comes along later. Someone shot Connie Lorraine Christensen and left her in the woods in Wayne County. She was only 20 years old. She had a 1-year-old daughter. She should have been here to raise her daughter. She should still be here. Connie Lorraine Christensen has had her name back since 2023. Hopefully she will get justice next. There is no statute of limitations on murder. So let's hope that her murder is solved soon so that she can truly rest in peace. One other point I wanted to make here, in looking up the update on this case, that she had been named, I found that she would not have her name back if not for the DNA Doe Project. They're a nonprofit organization, and they worked on identifying her from her bones and getting a DNA sample and identifying her. And that kind of bothered me. It's like, if your house is on fire in Indiana, you don't have to pay the firefighters yourself. You don't have to rely on volunteers to come and put the fire out. How come victims or nonprofit volunteer organizations have to foot the bill to solve murders? Do victims have to pay to identify their own remains? Why doesn't Indiana fund murder investigations? I think police are often criticized when an investigation takes a long time or there isn't any movement in the case. But I know investigators want to solve crimes. I think insufficient funding is one of the root causes as to why cases go cold and stay cold for so long. Because we've had the ability to test DNA and find out, get a DNA profile of someone since 1985. And since the 90s, it's just been improving more and more and more. You don't need as big of a sample. You can get DNA from a fingerprint now. So a lot of cases could be solved. I think it's lawmakers higher up the chain that are holding up the funds. Currently, Indiana has more than 6,000 unprocessed rape kits. Lawmakers have not yet appropriated those funds toward processing these rape kits. So that means rape victims, murder victims, and their family and friends are waiting. Rapists and murderers are still free, however, to keep offending. According to the state of Indiana, they took in a total of $52.2 billion in tax revenue in 2024. They spent a total of $22 billion per fiscal year. So that's $44.5 billion over a 2-year period. If that $52.2 billion is just for the year of 2024 that they took in, and they only spent $22 billion that fiscal year, do they have, more than $27 billion laying around? They also have a thing called a 2-year period. So I think maybe their fiscal year is a 2-year period, but still $52.2 billion coming in and $44.5 billion going out over a 2-year period. That's still a $7.7 billion surplus for Indiana. Surely some of that can go to testing rape kits and solving murders. Don't Hoosiers and people traveling through the Hoosier state deserve safety and deserve to have their murders investigated properly? I don't know. It seems to me that that's something that could happen. I do know there is an organization in Indiana that is working on getting the rape kits funded. So there are people out there who are actively working on getting this funding happening and processing the kits properly, making sure none get left behind. They have a whole mission put together, a very detailed plan. And I'll link that in the comments as well. But yeah, Connie Lorraine Christensen laid in the woods from sometime in April of 1982 to December 26, 1982. And then her remains were stored in a box all the way from 1982 to 2022 when they first started looking into finding a DNA profile for her and then identifying her. So she's had her name back since 2023, but still, I'm hoping, and I know you're hoping, for justice in her case. Somebody shot her and left her in the woods. Like I say, a lot of times people come forward. People know more than they think they know. They've overheard something, or they themselves are guilty and they want to unburden themselves. So let's keep hope alive for that. But also let's hope that DNA evidence was left on her clothing and that can be tested. Sometimes it's very possible. Thank you for listening tonight to Storytime at Large. If you're a subscriber, I appreciate that. If you're not a subscriber, thanks very much. Consider subscribing though. I have lots more cases coming up that I'm working on right now, and I'm slowly working my way through all of the unsolved cases on the Indiana State Police cold case website, and this was one of those. And then I will be also slowly working my way through cases in Ohio that have photographs, and when they don't have photographs, I'm trying to find those photographs. And then I'm looking at cases in Illinois too, some in Michigan. If you have a case that you'd like me to work on to make, just to get the word out about the case, let me know. Drop a comment in the comments section, and we'll take a look at it together. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you have a good night.